Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. For people watching this on Black Friday, just so you know, we are pre-recording this for the big Bat Black Friday event, and but doing it live on Sunday for our Word Balloon audience. And happy to welcome James Tynion IV back to Word Balloon. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, dude. And I wanted to spend time with you talking Joker War, and certainly all the fallout that we're all in the midst of right now. With absolutely with the Ghost Hunter, Ghostmaker, and Clownhunter.
Yes,
thank you. Because I do, and honestly, I don't know how I am about Clownhunter, but Ghostmaker, I'm a huge fan of. Anyone that shows up and seems to be Bruce's equal immediately has my attention. So these are, let's we can talk about the current status quo right now as we're gathering questions from people. Oh, Jimmy says nice haircut.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And
that was my Sunday task. My first haircut since February, which I got right before C2E2, the last convention ever.
It did.
But yeah, so I am, before, like earlier today, it was not quite like full on like Thor haircut, but it was getting a little shaggy.
I understand, man. No, I got mine cut last week. Absolutely, it is holiday week after all, so can't blame it. Henry screwing up the names even further for me. I'm sure I'll get them wrong.
Thank you, Henry.
But yeah, man. So like, well, tell me, because this is really. Obviously, when you come off an event, you do, but you want to create new characters, new problems. Obviously, you fed a bit of the storyline as you were wrapping up Joker War.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me about coming up with these two characters.
Well, I mean, this is something that each of them kind of comes from a different place, and this is something that goes all the way back to the beginning of the year and seeing the reaction to Punchline. Sure. And realizing that, this is, that what I really want to do in my Batman run is tap into a hunger for new characters. Because I do think just across the board in superhero stuff, there is just a hunger for new characters. And that comes from the fact that, and I think we forget this, too often, is that there is a constant new wave of readers coming into the comics business. Like that that just, most people come in and they'll come in for like sort of, they'll come try it out for a year or so, and then they might drift away and they might have a few trades on their shelves. And then there are the people who get hooked, and then they, will have a longer, time span that they're reading comics actively. And then there are the people who are the diehards who, will start reading and then read for the rest of their lives. And I think a little too often in superhero comics, we do our math for that last group, rather than for the first two groups, the people
Understood.
who are sort of in a bit, like just coming in for short bursts. And I think that one of the things that we do a disservice of is that we throw people in the deep end of continuity, and we throw people into, here are these characters and you need to know all of these things about it. And there is an electricity to creating a new character that then allows a new reader to be introduced to them at the same time that the diehards who have been there the whole time are being introduced to them. And that became a key part of my math, sort of moving forward in the series, and will continue to be a part of my math heading into next year.
Wow.
Is how do you make this comic? Like my target audience here is, I want to write a Batman comic that's really, really cool for a teenager to read, because that's when I started like actively reading comics. I want something that hooks them, that has really exciting characters, exciting imagery, and I want people to both see themselves in the pages of the comic, and I want them to I want to challenge Batman from the angles that the reader might challenge Batman themselves. So, with Punchline, I get to see a kind of devotion towards the Joker, and we're living in this moment where, in just in the real world, especially since the release of the Joker movie, Joker is a huge cultural figure, and there's a whole new generation rising up that have their own relationship to Joker as a character, in a way that's almost entirely subtracted from Batman. Like their relationship is just to Joker as like this abstract concept. And I wanted to create a character that taps into that, and also taps into some of the stuff that young people are kind of going through right now, which is the fact that we're living in a world where there are all of these dangerous ideologies that you can find your way into through social media and everything. So the Punchline gives voice to that as a bit of a story. And Clownhunter comes at it from a different angle. Clownhunter is a teen character. He's a bit of a gamer. He has, talks in kind of gamer lingo, is like just not convinced by Batman's moral code. Like just the idea that you have to, like the whole core dilemma of, why doesn't Batman kill? And giving that voice through this, like a young teen character. And I think people are going to really see what I have in mind with Clownhunter, with the annual that comes out in December, with Doko on art. And like that really kind of taps into the heart of this kind of core dilemma, because I think young people in general are like, are living in the aftermath of a world that is all defined by these battles between these larger forces, and they're told that this is what's right and this is what's wrong, but clearly the adults telling them this is what's right, this is what's wrong, it hasn't led to a better world. So why should they listen to those adults? And so Clownhunter represents that in a very different way. And then Ghostmaker taps back into Bruce when he was at that young age. He taps back into Bruce when he was a 17-year-old trying to figure out what does he want to become in life. And I wanted to create a kind of rival character for him in that kind of classic anime mode of just like of the classic like rival. And you get and here you have this rival for Batman when he was as idealistic as he was when he was like 17. And then you get this other young idealistic person who wants to become the best crime fighter in the world. And now you get Bruce confronted by that by a peer, and that's something that I'm very interested in the whole context of Batman comics in and of itself, because usually you only see Bruce talking to his peers in like a Justice League comic. You don't really see him talking to, like there are exceptions. Like there are characters like Catwoman who work as a kind of, as a peer and an equal, but also someone who he has a deep history with and relationship with beyond that. But to have this person who comes in who, like it is a crime fighter, is someone who is trying to solve the same problems as Bruce, but it's just like, Bruce, you're doing it wrong. Like that's a valuable voice, and it kind of changes the dynamic. And especially in a world where, like when we're talking about the Batman mythos, and especially heading into next year, like we're heading in, I think that this could be like the most exciting era of Batman comics, because so many of the core pieces have been moved around. You don't have Jim Gordon as the head of the Gotham City Police Department. You don't have Alfred back in the cave. You don't have Bruce's huge fortune. Like, and you have this kind of chaotic moment where Bruce needs to reassess who he is and how to be Batman as he's getting a little older, and his kids are going off and doing their own thing. That's like right. And so how do you kind of bring that all together and do and confront him with interesting problems? And so that's all of that came together, and that is part of why like each of those characters are who they are.
That's fantastic, man. No, and you're right. It is a very exciting time, because everything that was always status quo is off the table, like you said, and he's got to find a different way. This reminds me, goddamn, and again, showing my age, but when I was a little kid, I remember reading when Batman left Wayne Manor and he and Alfred went downtown, and all of a sudden, the new downtown Batcave was underneath the Wayne Foundation, and he's living in his luxury pad and stuff like that. Robin's off to Hudson University and everything. Yeah, man. No, you're right. It was exciting.
And honestly, there's something, especially because even though they're both urban characters, like Batman and Superman are urban characters in very different ways.
Okay.
And, Superman is obviously even while being an urban character, is a rural character. He grew up in farmland. He is the embodiment of American farmland values and all of that.
Yep.
And Bruce is much more urban and urbane. Like he is much more of high society. And sorry, my dog is like coming in here to knock over towers of books just out of shot.
No problem.
But Bruce is much more of a city person, and the things that were tying him to the idea that this this attractive young millionaire in Gotham City, and not billionaire anymore, a millionaire, is like living outside of the city rather than living in the city. It felt there's a little bit of a disconnect there, especially just even from a Batman perspective. Like Batman is all about doing things in the most efficient way possible. That drive in from the Palisades into the into Gotham City is not efficient. Like that is not an efficient way for Batman to operate. So actually sort of rebuilding how he attacks crime, and especially what problems is he trying to solve in this new moment, like that's interesting to me, especially because now he doesn't have infinite money. Like, because infinite money, I think, was a problem with him. And I think it was one of those things where, because when Batman started out, like right at the beginning, he was a wealthy person. He was a part of like high society, but he wasn't a celebrity. Like he knew the police commissioner, and he was like hanging out with the police commissioner a bit. But it's like it was conceivable that the average person in Gotham City didn't know who Bruce Wayne was.
Okay,
he wasn't necessarily just this higher, like I think his wealth is always going to be a part of him, but making him a billionaire has such different connotations in the modern world. And billionaires have like a truly ludicrous amount of money. And it's something that taking that away from him and making it so he can still build a really cool Batmobile, but he can't build 20 really cool Batmobiles that then he can like use simultaneously with like all of his gadgets and all of that. So
I'm with you.
Creating some kind of limitations there was also part of the goal.
Tell me about the dynamic now between Bruce and Lucius Fox and what's going on with the money.
Well, that is, there are elements of that I still can't speak to yet because we don't see how some of that's going to play out in the next year. But really the one way that I keep informally referring to next year in Batman is I keep pointing to there's Batman the Animated Series and there's Batman Beyond.
Right.
And this story, rather than like we are now moving ahead to being at probably the exact midpoint between Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond.
Interesting.
Like I want it to be a bit of a step forward. And one of those big pieces of that kind of Batman Beyond future of Gotham City was Bruce lost control of Wayne Enterprises. And it was something that he needed to fight to get back control of in time. And this is sort of the first steps towards that.
Interesting.
He has given his control over Wayne Enterprises to Lucius Fox, who's a good man who he respects and who he knows is going to shepherd this well. But how that develops and how that moves forward, isn't necessarily there's a whole realm of possibility. And I'm not meaning to like hold Batman Beyond as the one true future that we're heading towards. But it is just in terms of how I think about it.
I like it.
This is a few steps further down the timeline than we've ever allowed the Gotham mythology to go.
Was that something you had to convince DC with, or given where things started with regarding 5G, how it's now morphed into future state? I don't, whenever you had to pitch your plan. But yeah, I mean, so did that come from DC or did that come from you saying, hey, let's jump ahead a little bit?
I mean, there's a little bit of it that is in the core, it was in the core idea of some of the 5G stuff that they were doing, which was the idea is like we're a little bit further down the timeline. This is definitely my own take on that.
Yeah, that's great.
But I like that was one of the elements that when that was being discussed, like in its raw form, really excited me. The idea that everything, all of the stories know and love, they happened.
Of course,
but now those are sort of the good old days.
Yeah,
that is sort of the vibe that I want to go to, and it's now we don't Bruce is having to refigure out how he wants to approach fighting crime, and he's no longer a 25-year-old man like he was in year one.
Sure,
with all of the youth and gusto that come with that. And so, this is something where it's going to be harder for him, and he knows it's going to be harder, and he's going to have to, lean on people differently. And that is honestly, that's a huge, that is a huge driving thing. And that's one of the big pieces that really excited me, because I love the world building, and the biggest thing that I'm thrilled to be working with Ben Abernathy, who's the group editor of the Batman books right now, is we are totally simpatico in how we see how the line can really work in unison together. And excuse me, we are getting to the way that we're working together, me and the other writers of the core Bat titles, that, what we're building and where, how we're building Gotham City, how we're making Gotham City feel like this vibrant living thing, and how we're trying to make sure that it's one of the most interesting, because Gotham is one of the most interesting fictional locations ever created. And so populating it with all of these interesting characters that so sort of if you're in this neighborhood of Gotham, this sort of thing's going to happen. And if you're in this neighborhood of Gotham, this sort of thing's going to happen.
Yep.
You want to create those sorts of expectations and ideas or like around. And really, like, at the end of the day, like, our goals as comic book writers is just to create great fodder for amazing artists to draw really, really cool stuff. Like, that is at the end of the day, that is the job of a comic book writer, is to come up with great excuses for really, really cool stuff to to be drawn on the page. Really cool characters, like really cool fights, really cool gadgets. Like, it's Batman. You want it to be filled with like high stakes action adventure and deep emotion and soap opera and all of this stuff. Like, it's everything that's great about superhero comics dialed up, and that's what we want to do.
Understood. For characters like Punchline, Ghostmaker, and Clownhunter, how much are you telling the artists what you want to see, and how much are you letting them create from whatever description you give them?
I mean, normally there's a starting point, and all three of those characters are designed by Jorge Jimenez, and I think they all speak to Jorge's strengths. And this is, I think you can see the manga influence in each of their designs, and you can see it in everything I'm doing with Jorge, because, Jorge, just like me, it's the benefit of he and I, like, he's only, I think, 2 years older than me. But so we grew up roughly the same time. We were both hugely impacted by the manga boom that was happening when we were in basically middle school, early high school. And that changed how we read comics. And we brought all of those influences into how we approached sort of the direct market side of comics. And that is, I wanted to lean in. The second that it became clear that Jorge was going to be kind of the main Batman artist of my run, I wanted to lean fully into his design aesthetic and give him like really good, cool excuses. And you can sort of see the different ways that it can kind of break off from that kind of core, where, with a character like Clownhunter, the influences are very much Akira, and especially the street gangs in Akira, that kind of age of, cyberpunk, street gangs, like
Totally.
that is very key to that. And, there's another group of characters who will be introduced in 2021 that kind of come at the cyberpunk aesthetic from a different angle, that also, takes in a lot of anime influence, but, comes at it from another angle. And with Ghostmaker,
Mm-hmm.
Ghostmaker has the feel much more of the more superhero style characters that come out of manga. Like, there is a little bit of the. Sometimes I know the real term for this, but the term for superhero comic in Japanese, which, like the Power Rangers and all of that kind of aesthetic.
Sure.
You can totally see that kind of come into the design. But really, the Ghostmaker versus Batman one shot, comparison, it comes down to the same sort of thing as like a Snake Eyes versus Storm Shadow. It is sort of, how do you kind of create, Batman is is all black and gray. How do you create the kind of white and gray, balance to him?
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yin yang, absolutely, man. Well, building on that and the Japanese influences, apparently Rich Johnson is watching us and wants to know, does current Batman draw anything from Judge Dredd and Mega City 1? Interesting.
That's a great question. I fully admit that I am not like fully versed in Dredd lore. I have read bits and pieces of Dredd, but I mean, I think I take a lot of influence from the contemporaries of Judge Dredd, and I mean, like, that whole aesthetic that is, like, Judge Dredd was a contemporary to what Otomo was doing in creating Akira, and what a lot of what Frank Miller was doing in books like Ronin, and even, Dark Knight Returns is a cyberpunk work as well.
Totally.
So it's like all of these things have kind of
they're in the zeitgeist. Yeah, they're all kind of happening at the same time.
Exactly.
I'm with you, man. Yeah.
No, so I definitely tap into all of that.
That's beautiful. Now, there's a lot of really great questions, And folks, I'm not going to go in order. I'll get this out of the way because I know the answer to this. Charlie wanted to know if you have any books in Future State, and he loves all your work.
So no, I do not. But what I will say is that Future State is shaped by the Gotham Future State books are shaped by some ideas that I'm going to be introducing in my run with Jorge Jimenez in directly following. So particularly when it comes to the character Peacekeeper 1, who is the top agent of a group called the Magistrate. Like, that is a character that I created, and you will see sort of introduced in present day in my Batman run with Jorge, picking up from that. And there are other little pieces than that that reflect what we're doing, but that's the big one.
Have you talked about Peacekeeper 1 before?
A little bit. I think I pointed to the fact that I think I've given roughly that answer to the question before, but that might be I have not said it very often. So.
Okay, and I don't know, and obviously I don't want you to spoil, but obviously, again, being an old fart, I'm thinking of the great original Peacekeeper from the Charlton days, and even when he came back in the '80s, and I'm excited about seeing what John Cena does with him in the movie and the Suicide Squad movie. So
there's there are definitely so that would be Peacemaker, but yes, like they're all kind of in the same.
There's a through line. Can we say that much? Fair enough. Awesome, man. All right. PM Loss wants to know what can we expect from Nightwing in Batman books next year.
I mean, I can't. I can't really answer that. All I can say is that I'm very excited of the people who are going to be involved with that, and I am very excited about their take and how like I said, we've got a big interconnected Gotham next year, and I'm very, very excited about every aspect of it.
Excellent. Another one again that we can just get a general answer to: will Harley Quinn continue to be a major player in your Batman run?
Yes, she will. I love Harley, and I think Harley is, especially like I have big plans for Harley. So yes.
Very good. There you go, bud. Exactly, man. No. That's more than enough. We don't want to, as I say, at least me, I don't want my presents before Christmas Day. I totally get it, man.
That's fair.
And KM says, also a big fan of your run so far. Your writing of Harley and her uneasy partnership with Bruce is incredibly fun. I completely agree. They have amazing conversations.
Yeah, no, I have so much fun writing them together, which is honestly, the biggest reason that I plan on continuing that as we move forward next year. Like I love the idea, especially as we see, Batman, with Harley basically thinking that she is Batman's new sidekick, but Batman disagrees. Batman does not agree that Harley is Batman's new sidekick, but Harley keeps showing up where she's not supposed to. And, there's a lot of, great scenes to come for that.
Is what you're doing now and again, we're taking the break in January and February. Are you ending on a cliffhanger, or are you
not so much. I mean,
okay.
I end with some, I end with pieces that are set up, like Ghostmaker.
Clownhunter's about to take over. Showing Batman how he would take care of things in Gotham, assumingly in the next issue.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Clownmaker. Oh no. Ghostmaker is going to see. This is where Ghostmaker is going to show Batman how he will be a better savior for Gotham in the next issue.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think part of it is how Batman reacts to that attack on him and attack on his values and attack on his priorities is going to kind of help shape where he's going, and including what is Ghostmaker's role in Gotham 2021, because he is this is the thing that I keep saying is like, I'm not introducing all of these characters just to like throw them out there and then put them in a box. Like, all these characters I have active plans through 2021 into 2022, and a couple of them through 2023. So who knows if I'm going to get to any of that. Like, I'm treating it very much like a kind of 1 year at a time. But in terms of what's the a rough sketch of where it could all go. Like I have threads of how they, each of these characters develops.
Very exciting, James. Absolutely, man. Ramsey has a process question. He says, he likes both of our haircuts. Fantastic. Thank you, Ramsey. His question: any tips or tricks on pacing that you can give a newbie writer? Well, and certainly, what the intricate story you're involved in right now I'm sure you've got some thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, pacing is that is so important. Literally, there is no more important thing in comics than pacing, and that is. I remember honestly because I started writing. The beginning of my career was writing backups in the Snyder Capullo Batman run, and then I moved from there into writing an actual serialized story in Talon, and I look at Talon 3 and 4 is when I figured out how to pace an ongoing comic for the first time.
Okay.
So I knew how to structure a standalone story, because a standalone story, when you're pacing that, it's difficult, but it's a little easier because it's just sort of like, at the end of the day, you kind of ask a question and then you answer it. And you have a character kind of go through a journey that then ends with them answering the question that you ask right at the beginning of the thing. It's a bit easier to kind of hit that. Pacing, I find my pacing through intercutting. And that's part of why almost everything I do is more ensemble casts than singular character. Like I'm not big on just small cast books. I like big cast books. I like being able to, raise the tension and then cut away and then jump back. And how you cut away and how you jump back helps create a rhythm that you can sort of do. And honestly, I would look at, you can learn a lot through film, honestly.
Of course.
In terms of how you sort of can capture pacing. And especially, in terms of geek stuff, look at how at the climax of every Star Wars movie, but particularly the original trilogy, how it intercuts between each thread of action and how there's like a clear tension and a clear drama in each of those sections, and then where does it cut away and where does it come back, and it tells an emotional story that then you get really, really invested in, and you can get people more and more invested in. You can kind of amp them up by how much you intercut and how much you do that. So I would definitely I would look at that. I also think that one of the best resources for looking at how to pace a story are children's movies. Like, honest to God, if you go through especially the classic Pixar movies, they are paced perfectly, in terms of how you flow a story out, and it's just it is thanks to the giant machine of Disney Pixar. They brought made it into a formula almost, while still having a deep human piece to that. So I mean, honestly, so in terms of resources, that's what I do. And but aside from that, I tend to focus on in my creator owned, I tend to focus on dialogue first. I find the flow of the dialogue and all of the images are in my head. Batman, I've been leaning a bit more into a plot style where I'm trying to be a little looser, and I'm letting the artists dictate a bit more. So I do try to flow the images and just sort of see okay, how many pages can the sequence be? How many, how big can we go? And what are the elements that we can sort of cut around? So, but I think it is always about intercutting. Intercutting is the key thing for me in terms of how do you up the stakes.
I like it. Paul Baker has an interesting question. And again, as much as you can reveal, any clues on your upcoming Bat project with, is it Guillaume March, or how do you say?
I say Guillaume March, and I am only somewhat sure that is
Don't feel bad.
So that may not actually be correct, but
Understood.
But so, I can't say much. I will be able to say more soon, so I can say that. But it's a title that I'm very excited about because I think the day it's announced, I think there'll be some, there are a handful of people there. Like, I think comic shops will be very happy, and then there'll be like a couple of grumblings in some corners of the internet. But I'm doing it from a totally different angle than, okay, the thing that I can say about it is a bunch of people have been asking me, okay, you're resetting all of these pieces of the core Batman mythology. Where is Jim Gordon? This is where Jim Gordon is. This is where Jim Gordon is. So,
okay. Cool.
I'm very, very excited. Jim Gordon is one of my all-time favorite characters, and we have a very, very big story planned for him next year.
Outstanding. Very excited. That's great, man. Yeah. Well, and shame on me because I always forget that they did de-age Jim. So now I don't know. So I don't know. And again, we'll find out next year. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm very excited. Okay, well, John asks, and again, I think you're jumping the gun, John, but I will put it up. When will we start to hear about what's going on with DC and Batman after Future State?
March solicitations and the February ones just came out, so just there's
about 30 days.
Yeah, like about 30 days. You'll get to see more of what we've got in store. And I am very, very excited. Honestly, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming.
Well, and also, man, this sounds great. Honestly, I'm really excited. Like you said, I think and it's great because it gives us old Batman readers something fresh to get excited about. And like you said, every one of Batman's backstops are gone.
Yeah,
and that's really interesting. It's like, okay, now what does he do?
Yeah.
So that's really, and again, dude, I was heartbroken when Alfred died. Again, it was interesting seeing Jim Gordon, pushed out. It's like, okay, now, like you said, now what?
Yeah.
PM Lost wants to know, as the Batman writer, can you make changes in the other Bat books, or can you just suggest things? Yeah, is there a hierarchy in terms of with?
The hierarchy is always what is, the hierarchy is the fact that there is a Batman group editor, and then, he runs things up the ladder further from there. So, what I was able to do, especially with,
like contrast when you were doing detective to what you're able to do now. I mean, I guess that might be a good example.
So, I mean, with detective, it was a lot more ducking and weaving with the, what was happening in the rest of the line and but the benefit of being on the main Batman book is that, if I establish a new Batmobile in the Batman book, then that's the Batmobile. Like, there isn't another Batmobile. There are things that you can do in the core book that kind of open up story. And so one big thing that I've been big on, and this goes all the way back to when I was working on Batman Eternal and Batman and Robin Eternal, is I wanted to make sure that I was writing that we were creating a Gotham City that all of these other books could exist in. And I did have like little ideas. It's just like, here's this corner, and that might mean this for a series. And not all of those ended up happening and all of that, because, you bring in incredible creators and they bring their incredible voices to it. But it does kind of help you set, like, okay, like here is the status quo. Like, the Batman book sets the status quo, and then particularly, like, I want people to play with the status quo. Like, I want this to, and frankly, I always loved when I was on Detective, when other books would reference the Belfry and like the existence of that team of characters. And that didn't happen very much, but when that happened, that meant a lot to me.
Oh, sure.
So when I was doing it this time, it's just like, I want to set a status quo. I want to set this location. I want to set a kind of, like, especially in terms of Bruce's wealth and what all of that means, like, that I wanted that to kind of affect the rest of the line. And that required buy-in from other creators and also from the rest of editorial. So I wrote sort of, back at the beginning of the summer, I wrote like a 22-page Bible for here's what I was going to do on the main Batman book and the secret project with Guillaume over the next year. Here's how, here are all of the different arenas in Gotham City. Here's what, here's the secret like thread that's happening through the Punchline story. Here's the secret thread that's happening through, how I want to build up Clownhunter. Sorry.
Oh, you okay, buddy?
Gesturing too much over here.
Oh, don't worry, man. My hands, I'm literally sitting on my hands, or my hands would be flying around right now.
So. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
Not at all, buddy.
Oh, there's going to be a little cleanup later.
I was just free, buddy. It's all good.
But yeah, I wrote a 22-page story Bible that I wanted to get into the hands of, the creators as they were building their, their pitches for what they were going to do in their books over the year. So,
sure.
That was very much part of it. So it's less dictating. It's not like me saying, like, I want this to happen in, Nightwing, and then that's going to go happen in Nightwing. But if I say, hey, if I set this up, here's an opportunity that you could, you could use in a Nightwing book, and that has, a better chance of actually happening.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. All right, we're gonna take a small pause from Batman because there are two someone is killing the children questions, and I want to get to both of them because they're good. And first of all, Filippo Lombardo says, unrelated, is there any Erica Slaughter or someone is killing the children merch coming to the Tiny Onion store soon? I have the mask and I love it. Thank you.
I really appreciate it, and I am investigating how I can do these things. It's a little more complicated because they are, Something is Killing the Children is co-owned as a property by Boom Studios. So like the Department of Truth, I own it outright. So I can make all of my little Department of Truth pins.
Hold on. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Stand by. There we go. Nice.
Oh, yeah. There, it's kind of showing up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can do that easy. And there are more headaches involved when it comes to
the title.
Yeah. But I have had conversations because I would love to do some enamel pins featuring Erica Slaughter. I would absolutely love to do that.
That's cool. And Dylan wants to know if Something is Killing the Children will get hardcovers.
I don't think I can say yet, but
okay.
Given the fact that normally my previous answer to the question was I hope so, that might there may be a more finite answer to that, and it's one that makes me happy, but I don't think I can say officially yet.
Understood. Do the math, everybody. That's very good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, back to Batman. Tell me about the Fox, the other editions of the Fox family that now are going to be playing roles, as Lucius was kind of spelling out for Bruce and everything. We knew Luke was coming and everything, but now we've got, is it Tim? Is Tim the other brother?
And Tim Fox was the original created character back in the 70s when Lucius Fox was created as for the first time.
Yeah.
Or 70s or 80s, I forget.
Okay.
But when he first appeared, one of the first storylines introduced his son Tim, and that was the first Fox son. So we are seeing him come back to town for the first time, and he's been on his own whole journey around the world, figuring out exactly who he is, and now he has his own perspective that he's bringing to Gotham, particularly as his family has come into all of this wealth, and that right now I think that Lucius Fox sees that his family is in a position where it could be what the Waynes were to Gotham City in terms of they are the kind of first family of Gotham, and and I think that the children who he's a bit closer to, Luke, who has been operating as Batwing,
Yep.
and then his daughter Tamara, who's been running Luke's company, Fox Tech, like that, they are now coming a bit more into the center of the fold. But they're, one of the big things is he wanted to resolve his relationship with his eldest son, and so there's a lot of story there, and you should definitely read those future state issues of Batman to see a bit more about a little bit more about the Fox family. But this is but you will see their continued presence in Gotham moving forward, because I think, like has been said before, the glimpse that we're seeing in Future State is a glimpse of the like a possible near future of Gotham City, and it's not going to directly 100% reflect what we're going to see coming forward, but there are elements from that will be important moving forward. So it is not something where the line is fully divorced from this. Like, all of these are hints of where things could go. So stay tuned.
That's cool. I want to know regarding the original Batwing. Did you ever have a chance to play much with? Is David still alive? Or where is the original Batwing these days?
Oh, that's a really good question. Honestly, I'm not sure. I think he's I think he was a doctor, so he's probably moved back home and is working as a doctor there.
Okay, because
I don't think he died. I don't think he died in that story, but I think he sort of retired from being a cape.
An active hero. Because I used to tell the Benson sisters, I'm like, especially for Birds of Prey, I'm like, it'd be interesting to like shoehorn in the original Batwing and see. I mean, I really did love both characters, and in fact, for the purposes of Bat Black Friday that we're doing, Judd Winnick's going to be joining us live.
Oh, nice.
And so I that is one of the avenues I wanted to kind of discuss with him. And because Judd did really cool stuff, and certainly, again, introducing a lot of new characters and new status quos during his run. So it really does kind of dovetail with what you're describing, really, James. And honestly, you're 100% right, man. It's like, by all means, you can lean on the rogues and everything, but that is a big ask for a new audience. Yeah. And isn't it better that everyone's on the same page, and these new Bat readers really can get excited about what's happening now?
Yeah, and it also and then it makes it special when you go back and bring in like a classic character. Like, there is, one, people will see very quickly which classic Bat rogue is sort of the linchpin of everything I want to do next year. And it's a character I have been dying to do something substantial with for a very long time. And
excellent.
One of my favorite Batman villains. So
I look forward to the reveal. That's fantastic. And KM Suss says David is still alive, a retired police officer in Africa. Yeah, honestly, I appreciate what Judd was doing, because I really think it would have been interesting to see a third world Batman operating in a different country and in a different theater.
I think there's a lot of really great ideas that were happening in and around Batman Incorporated that I would love to see return in the line. And I think, like, to my, the one little thing that I was able to do in the next issue of Batman that comes out, I think that's 104. That there is a mention of the fact that, especially when Batman, like, there's basically a reference to the fact that when Batman did the whole Batman Incorporated thing, he went to Ghostmaker. Like, he went to him to see if he would be a part of it, and it did not go well. So it's like, that was, but it's one of those things where I think
it's great.
As much as it's all about like rooting everything in new mythology that's very much of the moment, it's also making sure that you acknowledge that all of the previous story happened. Because the other goal of, like, because I mean, there are a couple of goals of like Batman comics, and one is just like, you want to get people to buy more Batman comics, and and a part of that is like, you want to reference cool stuff, so then people will be like, oh, Batman Incorporated, what's that? And then they go discover the whole Batman Incorporated run. And like that is part of the joy of comics. Like that's how I did all of my big deep dives were when stories were referenced in the present day. So like that is also part of what I want to do.
That's excellent, James. That's really great. God, it's so funny. Literally, like a few weeks ago, I was talking to Paul Cornell, and we were talking about his Knight and the Squire series as well. And yeah, no, there's a real opportunity, and also I love what you're doing with Ghostmaker in terms of, as opposed to, I loved when Hush suddenly appeared.
Yeah.
And now here was another figure from Bruce's past, but they were friends.
Yeah.
And everything. And now you really have a rival that is like, yeah, they knew each other. And and there's some sort of, not friendship, but co-working, and also co-training, but also, oh shit, I was going to see this sensei and this asshole beat me to it and stuff, which I love. But really, like, guys that were kind of competitors.
Right.
And and he knows Bruce, but it's like, it's that guy that you've known, like kind of Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom.
Exactly. And
which I love.
And it creates a whole new realm of like how someone can even talk to Bruce. Because I mean, this is the other thing where when especially when you take Alfred out of the mix, if all of the people he's talking to are his former proteges, like they all have this kind of built-in respect and all of that. Alfred was one of the only people who would tell Bruce when he was wrong. That is an important thing, and not even just like important beyond it's important to Bruce, like to Bruce himself. He valued the fact that Alfred would tell him when he's wrong, because
absolutely,
he's smart enough to know that he's wrong sometimes, as much as he can be like stubborn and push people away.
Will again, now I don't want you to reveal, but will the rest of the DC universe be aware of Ghostmaker, or is the point of Ghostmaker that he is so covert that he's not really, under the radar?
We're going to sort of see the, in the next issue, Nightwing is a part of the next issue a bit, and he opens up a bit about how Oracle and Barbara Gordon was not aware of the existence of Ghostmaker, but Dick Grayson was. And he's going to get into the one time he encountered Ghostmaker. He's going to get into, and then which created, his fascination with him as a figure. And he's going to talk a bit about how when he was at Spiral, he looked up what are the records around the world of who knows about Ghostmaker, and there'll be a one line about how he has a bad relationship with the Great 10 because he keeps going into mainland China to pursue criminals that without jurisdiction. So it's just that's the, and I love that kind of world building.
Way to go, James. That's fantastic, man. You see, there you go. That's wonderful. I love it. You'll forgive me, man, but this is why listen, kids, I love Marvel, but DC was my first jam, and it still is. And it's great to hear good ideas like that and to connect the threads and then make those kind of connections. I think that's fantastic. And Solo Rebirth, obviously a big fan of Ghostmaker as well, wants either a Ghostmaker solo, possibly a miniseries.
All I'll say is that there are going to be lots of really cool opportunities for stories next year. There are definitely going to be Ghostmaker stories that feature Batman. There are going to be some Ghostmaker stories that kind of that are more solo adventures. The way those are delivered, I can't really talk about yet.
Understood. Absolutely. Between Batman, Something is Killing the Children, and Department of Truth, James has been on a hell of a run. Can't wait to see where all three grow. I completely agree, and count on a more involved Something is Killing the Children and Department of Truth conversation. We really are leaning on Batman for this hour to really kind of, make things happen for the Bat Black Friday event, which if you're watching it on Friday, we've got live panels coming up. It's going to be great. And that's why I really appreciate James spending time today talking about Batman. Regarding your detective run, where's the Clayface Batman relationship these days?
That's a really good question. And Clayface is a character that honestly I would love to get back to. We saw in City of Bane, Tom used Clayface as the Joker that was running around during City of Bane was not the real Joker. It was Clayface in disguise, like working for Batman.
Yep.
And I love the fact that Tom used that. We have not seen Clayface since then, but that is I keep. It's one of those things where there are so many characters and everything that I would love to just put into literally every issue of this, but I want to have the right story to bring them in.
Sure.
Clayface is a character who I would be very surprised if I don't return to at some point in the next year, or if I see the opportunity and another creator is interested in sort of continuing his journey there. But honestly, I think that I love writing Clayface. I love the whole Clayface Cassandra Cain friendship that I was able to do in Detective, and I would love to see that continue. So yeah, no, I have lots of thoughts and lots of ideas, and we'll see what happens.
I understand. And I kind of in a different way from Harvey Dent and Batman's relationship. I really liked what you did with Clayface and Batman, and I like some of these villains, having a moment to really, change their lives and suddenly become allies. And, I think that's great. That's just like in Flash with. And now I'm sure is it Trickster? Yeah, Trickster, basically. Things like that. No, I think there's great opportunities there. Solo Rebirth asks, do you have any plans for Red X to use in future story arcs after Future State?
I don't, but I do think that there are plans elsewhere. So I would keep an eye on the Titans books.
Very cool. Carlos wants to know what's the relationship between Ghostmaker and Red Hood, or Red Hood and Clown Killer. So yeah, where's Jason in all this?
That is a very, very good question, and is one that I am excited to explore in future stories.
Attaboy.
That's all I'll say about that.
That's fair enough, absolutely. And PM Loss is very thrilled that you've got Oracle and Nightwing interacting again. You win for me for all of next year. That's great. Yeah, I agree.
I'm thrilled.
That's a great.
Honestly, I think Gotham has been missing Oracle for a long time now, and I think that just in terms of the centrality of like Barbara Gordon to the whole core Gotham mythos, and especially in a world where she her own legacy is Batgirl, there are like next generation, there is a new generation there, and there are all of these great characters to tap into. And honestly, Barbara is a character who I will be writing a lot of next year. Both in the main title and the mysterious Guillaume March project that Jim Gordon is very central in.
Very cool. That's awesome. Tell me about the Punchline special that's coming up in a couple of weeks.
So it just came out a couple of weeks ago. But it is honestly, so that is once again was the that sets the stage for 2021 in a big way. And honestly, this is the story that I've been excited about since we created that character. And this is the story that I think taps into what makes Punchline a modern and dangerous villain for Gotham City, and and all of that. So we have her the issue shows the start of her trial, and the thing that's interesting about her is she is claiming sanity. She is not. She says she's sane and she's innocent, and that she was forced into she collaborating with Joker during the events of Joker War. But she's using that as a means to increase her platform and basically get her word out, and basically the gospel of Joker to a whole new generation of Gotham kids who and like I was saying with Clownhunter, with all of these kids do not necessarily believe that Batman is their big savior, because the city, like the youngest people in Gotham City have lived their entire lives in superhuman warfare between costume menaces and the Bat family and Gotham, and then Joker War was a real tipping point for a lot of people. And what Punchline is saying is like, yes, the Joker did all of these really terrible things, but that core philosophy of tear it all down, we should tear it all down because the system's broken. Like, all of these things are totally broken. You shouldn't have faith in all of it. Put on a clown mask, and we should tear down the whole system. And that's the insidious thing that she's planting on people, in the young people of Gotham's heads. And so that story, we see it through the eyes of Harper Row and her younger brother Cullen Row. And Cullen is he is becoming a believer. And that's the scary thing. Is basically it's a story of Harper watching her brother become radicalized by the ideology of the Joker and trying to take down Punchline and all of that. So that's a story that that one shot sets the stage for that story, and that story will continue next year. So I'm very, very excited about that. But once again, March solicits. You'll find out more.
All good, man. No, absolutely. So, what is coming out in a couple weeks?
So
you got to finish the clown, Ghost Hunter story.
So in December we have, or
104.
Yeah, it would be 104 and 105 our next
during December.
Yeah, during December. I guess. Yeah. In my head, there was one more week of November, so I was like, wait, why isn't there another Batman? But yeah, so there are 2 more issues in this story arc, 104, 105, and then there's the Batman Annual, which is very focused on Clownhunter, and reveals and finally reveals in full his origin.
There you go.
One thing that I'll say is that both the Punchline story and the Clownhunter story bring Leslie Tompkins in as a character and put her up front and center, because I think, especially in a world where we don't have Alfred anymore, that kind of Leslie serves a very unique role in the Gotham mythos in terms of someone who is known who Bruce is this entire time, and especially who does not approve of Bruce being Batman, who thinks that there are better things he could do. And so, a lot of the Batman Annual is Clownhunter, who in Batman 100, Batman gives Clownhunter Leslie Tompkins' card, and then the events of the story arc that's currently happening, Ghost Stories, that runs its course, and then after that, he goes to talk to Leslie to try to figure out what his next steps are and what sort of person he wants to be. So
did you revive, or did someone prior to you revive Leslie? Because I remember years ago she was in that 5th week event, and I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah,
it was another war.
Yeah, it was War Games.
War Games. Thank you. Yes,
I think she did die. I think she was resurrected by New 52.
Good.
Like all of that, and she's kind of been in the background for a while. Like I used her a couple of times in my Detective Comics run, and I know Tomasi used her briefly at the beginning of this year in Detective. But she is alive and well.
Great character.
Like, don't do the math in your head about how old she should be. But I'm treating her as the version of the character that I especially fell in love with during No Man's Land. That is
totally
the version of Leslie that lives in my head.
I agree, and I think at times, and even prior to that, Leslie's a great
and then
contrast to Alfred in terms. Go ahead. What were you saying?
And also just the original Denny O'Neil, the original there is no hope in Crime Alley, which is one of the best.
Boy, there you go.
Of and honestly, I lean into that a bit in that Batman Annual. I might have
awesome
cribbed a few lines from the Master to help describe Crime Alley at the beginning of that issue.
I have no doubt that Denny would be thrilled with that. And again, much like your new audience getting excited about these new characters, I mean, really, Crime Alley was just such an interesting reveal and revelation to us
Yeah.
as a new contrast. Like I said, a contrast to Alfred, of another authority figure in Bruce's life that he
Yeah.
respects, but like you said, isn't really happy with the fact that he's become Batman, which is pretty
Yeah.
amazing. Paul corrects us and says Leslie didn't die in war games. Stephanie did. Leslie disappeared to Africa afterwards, though. I wonder
I
if to
do
hang out
think
with
she
David.
died. I do think there was a
I think
death
so,
of
too.
Leslie before the end of the old continuity, though.
Yeah, I thought so too, man.
Like, that's pinging my mind, and maybe I'm totally wrong there, but
Glad she's back. Yeah, regardless, glad she's back. Strong woman for the Bat family, and absolutely should have some sort of impact, not just on Bruce, not just on Clownhunter, but yeah, the whole Bat family. I mean, yeah, I think that'd be great. And of course I do remember the whole thing with Stephanie and in War Games as well. Well, Solo Rebirth says, fingers crossed you stay on Batman or the Gotham side of the DCU for a long time. Yeah, man.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I'm also crossing my fingers.
And then Matthew Rosenberg wants to hear more about the fancy new haircut you're sporting.
Yeah. No, it's very beautiful, isn't it? Thank you, Matt.
Hey, man. There you go. I wonder, boy, there's a guy who I need to check in with on camera and see how woolly he is since last month. A little Sasquatch in Matt Rosenberg, but that's all right. We love him. That's cool.
Oh boy,
dude, this is great. I thank you very much. And anyway, I'll do a last call for any questions, kids. But otherwise, I'll let James get back to his evening. And as promised, seriously, man, yeah, come back. Maybe we'll spend a second on the Batman annual and what you got in December. But really, we'll do the Something is Killing the Children and everything else that you got going on, man.
That sounds wonderful.
That'd be great. And truly, thanks a lot for participating in the Bat Black Friday event, even if it was only in this capacity. Okay, here. And Gar wants to know how much you've collaborated with Tomasi when it comes to the direction of the Bat books.
Right at the beginning, we, especially in and around that Alfred Pennyworth one shot that we both wrote together.
That was great.
There was a lot of collaboration right then, and then also just talking about how his storyline would dovetail into Joker War and all of that. But I've been working, Pete and I have been working in and around Gotham for a long, long time. So it has always been very easy to just hop on the phone. And we had a bunch of ideas at the beginning of the year that didn't pan out that I would have loved to see, to do together. But, I am I love Pete Tomasi's work. He's one of the best Batman writers, and especially Bat family writers.
Agreed.
Of ever.
Absolutely.
And I think he is the best writer of Damian, bar none.
Oh, that's interesting. I agree with that. I loved his Nightwing run. I loved the Batman duo, Batman and Two-Face and everything else that it became during that period. No, I agree with you. I think Pete's a hell of a writer. And I'm glad that, I know he came, was editing as well back in the day. But no, he's a really strong writer. And is such a great, and I don't mean this in any condescending way, but like a great go-to guy. That if you just want a really good, solid Bat family story and stuff, Pete's your guy. Absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
So that's excellent. As always, James, congratulations. Well done. And then really, I was laughing and smiling all this time because of the excellent ideas that you're sprinkling in this conversation and teasing us with for what's coming in 2021. I think it's going to be a great year, and you get it, and that's good. And thank God the Bat family has you as one of the principal writers right now and guiding the future of these characters. I think you got great ideas, and I can't wait to see them unfurl. So well done as always.
Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for reading.
Absolutely. We'll pick this up with James in a few weeks when he's got the Batman annual and a few other things coming up. But thank you very much for watching. And if this is Bat Friday, happy Thanksgiving in the post sense. And also we've got other great conversations, both recorded and live, that we're presenting all day now on Black Friday to entertain you and give you something to think about, and also some great bat product to consider purchasing. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm going to wrap things up now and tell everybody, stay safe, stay happy.